Welcome to the motherfucking lady. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. The 2025 Ring Magazine Awards, where reigning WBO Super Flyweight champion Mizuki Hiruta reigns as top female fighter. This took me by surprise, because usually when they hand out these kinds of awards, it's always to the same four fighters. It's either Katie, Amanda, Clarissa, or some variation, some amalgamation of Michaela Mayer and Alicia Baumgartner. Now, nearly 3 months after Otani and Yamamoto won their second straight World Series with the Los Angeles Dodgers, Hiruta has more hardware to go with her ring and WBO Super Flyweight titles. Hiruta, who grew up in the same town as Yamamoto in Okoyama, Japan, won the ring's 2025 Female Fighter of the Year. She was announced as the winner of the accolade at the ring's second annual awards gala on Friday at Cipriani's in New York. I admire them, but I cannot just admire them. Hiruta told the ring via a translator before her last fight, I have to be like them. They showed that we can go there. Hiruta, 10-0 with 2 KOs, was extremely active in the previous year as she went 4-0 with each win coming in dominant fashion. In her last title defense, she won every round on all three judges' scorecards. Against Gloria Gallardo on November 22nd, in her previous title defense, she nearly did the same thing in a UD decision over Naomi Cardenas Gomez on August 15th, winning 100-90 on judges Carla Caiz and Lou Moret's scorecards. The third judge, Jack Reese, had it 98-92. Hiruta, 29, also had a one-sided UD over Carla Marino on May 17th and Maribel Ramirez on January 17th of last year. I have a lot of room to improve still, and I'm not satisfied yet, not at all, Hiruta told the ring before her title defense versus Gomez. I don't think I'm recognized very well, and then to have that, I have to unify titles and also move up in weight. So that way, I can be a superstar. I want to be a superstar. The other finalists for Female Fighter of the Year alphabetically were Evelyn Bermudez, Michaela Mayer, Ellie Scottney, and Katie Taylor.
No Clarissa Shields?
Well, you tell me, what did Clarissa Shields do in the previous year that would have got her Fighter of the Year? What memorable moment did she provide us?
Didn't she go undisputed at heavyweight?
You mean picking up 3 vacant titles, fighting a 42-year-old fighter with only 5 professional fights coming off a year layoff that had never fought in a 10-rounder before? She was actually there at the award ceremony, and I don't imagine she was at all happy to not only not win Fighter of the Year, but not even be nominated for the award. So maybe the Buxton media has finally grown tired of aggrandizing her for dominating what are barren weight classes where there is no one noteworthy to fight. They gave it to Mizuki. Admittedly, that would not have been my first choice. Not out of this pool of names. I would have given it to either Ellie Scottney, who unified in the previous year against the longest reigning champion at her weight, Yemi Mercado, unifying 3 of the 4 major titles at her weight, coming one step closer to becoming undisputed champion, or Michaela Mayer, who became a champion at her 3rd weight, dominating then champion Mary Spencer. Those would have been my 2 choices out of this pool of names. I would have given the award to either of them, but I'm not at all mad that Mizuki got it, because at least a foreign fighter is being acknowledged for a change. Oftentimes, ratings and awards are really given to the same pool of names, the same familiar faces, familiar fighters, and Asian fighters from the Far East like Mizuki are often passed over, even though in some instances they're more accomplished than their Western contemporaries. 4-weight world champion Naoko Fujioka, 4-weight world champion Kazuto Ioka,
Doni Nietes,
2-weight world champion Kenshiro Taraji. So it's almost like Mizuki getting this award is recompense for all of the other Asian fighters in the past that have been snubbed, completely ignored by the Western boxing media, and it's for that reason, even though I wouldn't have picked her myself for Fighter of the Year on merit, I'm okay with her getting acknowledged because it's a deviation from the norm, and it couldn't have happened to a nicer girl. Congratulations to her. Now she means to unify titles at Super Flyweight. Maybe this is the year that finally happens.
I was 100% sure we was going to win. For some reason, the game plan my son didn't do what I told him he was supposed to do. His rhythm was supposed to be different, where we were supposed to stop Shakur from doing whatever Shakur does best. You know what I'm saying? Congratulations to him for winning. You know what I'm saying? But that was not my son in there. I think probably the networks and everybody, the media, everything leading up to this fight, everybody already talking that already about Shakur fighting in May, where the winner was supposed to go and fight in May, against whoever it was. So I think that probably got to him, you know what I'm saying? People talking about me being drunk, all that stuff, when he went to the press conference and I wasn't there, I didn't show up because I was resting. And I think all that affected him in this fight, Like a lot of people say, my son is like mentally like easy to, mess with. And how you gonna fight, a fight when everybody wants you to lose? You understand what I'm saying? And I don't know what happened. It just looked like all his powers were not there. Like everything was like that we planned, everything that he did in sparring, everything that we planned to do was not there.
Veteran boxing scribe Al Berenstein of the Berenstein Bears reacted to that interview by saying it's hard to imagine doing a worse interview after a match. This is misguided and inappropriate on so many levels, and that is...
Oh, that's Lopez Sr. on a regular basis.
That is the charitable way of looking at it.
Sounds like Senior's throwing Junior under the bus.
Sounds like Senior's calling Junior mentally weak, which is ironic coming from someone who drowns their sorrows in a bottle the night before a big moment. A big fight. You're supposed to be a world-class trainer.
Or like a world-class wino.
For the longest time now, I felt that Teofimo needs additions to his corner, more instruction than Senior can provide, but for love of his father, Teo has kept him there.
Admirable, but misguided.
I believe that at one point, two-weight world champion and Hall of Fame inductee Timothy Bradley was trained by his father, but eventually he hired Joel Diaz and Teddy Atlas, more recently, Brian Norman.
He relieved his father of head coach duties and hired Ronnie Shields, Clarissa Shields' father.
What?
Now, that may or may not be true.
The point being, at some point, you have to take the reins. You have to take control of what is your career because it's your career, not your father's. If what your father's gonna do after another career loss is throw you under the bus tantamount to calling you mentally weak, for what are his flimsy instructions? Did you hear this guy in a corner?
You gotta hit him, bro!
If only it were that easy, you'll notice that Teofimo Lopez Sr. doesn't train any other world-class fighters, any other world champions, just his son. So is Teofimo not sure yet that his father has outlived his usefulness in the corner and it's time to start fresh?
How many more times do you gotta lose before you're ready to do what you've got to do?
Do you give yourself time to reflect and appreciate how well you've done so far in your career?
No, not at all. I hate myself for it, but it's part of it. It's just part of the life.
You've got to appreciate it as well.
I don't appreciate it, that's why.
Oh, sure.
I don't. I think that I get butchered, and I think God punishes me a lot for it. So I'm just a punching bag to that. So one day I'll get, maybe one day, but not yet.
We appreciate you though, brother.
Not yet.
These guys appreciate you too.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I just never got my fair share. I never did. Not once, man.
Hearing Teofimo beat himself up like that after he's already been beat up by Shakur Stevenson.
To then have his dad throwing him under the bus, tantamount to calling him mentally weak, the father in me.
I couldn't help but feel bad for the kid because as a father, I know what needs to happen here. It's on Senior to make it okay for Teofimo to move on if you really care about your kid.
You know I've got two of my own.
It's hubris of Senior to wrap this all around Teofimo Lopez's neck when you're not the guy that could have got him ready for a fight like this. You're not the trainer that would have given them the right game plan for a Shakur Stevenson.
It's arrogance on your part to put this all on him.
Granted that he is the one fighting the fight, but you're the one who's intended to prepare him for it. And I don't think for a second you had a real strategy, a real game plan for this fight.
Hit him, bro!
So pardon me, if I think the head trainer needs a bit more understanding of what's going on inside the ring.
You're gonna hate yourself, bro.
Tactical analysis outside of the contrived pep talk.
Let me get a Coors Light, bro.
Teofimo's beating himself up. I saw a quote from him that says, "I didn't listen."
What the fuck was there to listen to?
These are just my thoughts.
What?
Based on what I've seen of Teofimo Lopez over the years, tactically and technically, he was never going to win this fight with Shakur. Not at 135, not at 140.
Rayo said it best after his own fight this past Sunday. It was just a very bad style matchup for Teofimo, and he doesn't have the ingredients, the tempo, the work rate for that assignment. To truly trouble Shakur and any other fighter like him, you have to know how to apply pressure, and Lopez is not a pressure fighter.
He's not that fighter that throws 3 and 4 punches, throwing caution to the wind in doing so.
No.
That's not how his internal rhythm works, and I'm a big believer that fighters fight the way that they fight, not just because of nurture, but because of nature, because of an internal rhythm that compels them to fight the way that they do.
Understand that anybody can throw a jab, anybody can throw a straight, a cross,
A body shot, an uppercut. Any fighter can throw any variation of those punches. What determines the base style and what kind of fighter that fighter is an internal rhythm. It's the intention behind the punches.
Some guys throw a jab to keep their opponent off of them. Other guys throw a jab to step into it, to get to their opponent.
Some other guys throw a variation of a jab to where they're not even trying to hit you with it. They're trying to distract you from what's coming behind it. It's the intention.
Something that's determined by the fighter's base style. And the fighter's base style, at least in my opinion, comes from their internal rhythm.
You can hone that rhythm and you can sharpen it, you can nurture it, but some part of it is nature.
Some part of it is you and your preferences, what kind of fight you want to fight.
Theo never had the style for this one. I don't think he's got the style for Devin Haney either. And if you've been following this channel long enough, you'll have heard me say that many, many times before on repeat. A boxer puncher like Teofimo, who's at his best, working off the counter, doesn't have the style for a pure boxer. For an economic, safety-first fighter, throwing singles.
They're just not giving you enough to counter.
I think that Teofimo Lopez doesn't know how to lead the dance against a fighter like that. The saving grace for him is that is something that can be taught.
It absolutely is. I've seen other fighters in previous instances who weren't necessarily pressure guys make that adjustment to learn to apply pressure. He says, I just didn't listen.
Frankly, I don't think his father gave him anything of use to listen to. Teofimo was quoted as saying, "We didn't get the win we wanted tonight, but no matter what, we did something more. We brought everybody out here to watch and witness greatness. I look at it like this. When life comes at you, it'll come at you in many ways, and you've got to treat it like a champ. That's it. You gotta treat it like a champ."
Taking it on the chin. So are you blaming Teofimo Lopez Sr. for Junior's loss?
Not necessarily, because they prepared as a team. If they had won, they would have celebrated as a team. So if they lose as a team, as a unit.
I don't think for a second Senior could have devised the right strategy for a fighter like Shakur or any other fighter like him, which is why in the past we've seen glimpses of Teofimo's struggle against that same style.
On whether or not he believes he put too much focus on trying to get into Shakur's head during the pre-fight promotion, I think it's just the way things played out. I was gambling and the dealer didn't play my cards right, that's all. On how he breaks down what happened in the fight, I think I was just honestly too focused on one particular objective, one particular thing, than really enjoying what I could see opening. I was catching him with a lot of the body shots, so I think that was one of my effective arsenals that was getting him every time, but I just think more combinations, especially finishing with left hooks and stuff. I did poorly on not listening to my team. That's on me. Take it on the chin.
Now we're getting to the meat and potatoes.
My team did a phenomenal job. They had great guidelines. They had great instructions. I just didn't listen tonight.
Not based on what I heard.
On whether or not he was surprised by anything Shakur brought to the fight, no, nothing, honestly. I knew about his jab. I honestly took myself out of the distance. I was playing it too much to his game, and that's all.
The adjustment that Teofimo needed to make for this fight, I knew he wasn't going to make it, but overall, it's not actually a big adjustment.
At least not so big that it can't be understood. It is, however, something that has to be embedded and burned in the fighter's mind in a gym setting.
Ingrained into their mind, into their muscles, into the intention behind their punches. You need to apply pressure.
And you're not going to convince me that in a gym setting, Senior came up with the right plan and the right strategy when we've seen Teofimo struggle with that same style before. You still haven't taught him how to deal with it, likely because you don't know how to teach him.
Get him out of that fucking Philly shell.
You knew ahead of this fight that Teofimo would have to be the aggressor because Shakur Stevenson is anything but aggressive. He's going to hang back and wait to counter you with his jab. If you knew that,
Get him out of that fucking Philly shell.
instead have him use a high guard or a mid guard to where his hands are closer to his face to protect any oncoming fire, at the same time closer to his opponent so it's easier to counter.
Catch and counter.
Shakur's got a great jab. It's really quick. And you already knew that coming in. Out of a high guard or a mid guard, it would have been easier to catch that jab on the gloves and counter in kind.
Instead of fighting out of that fucking shell.
Which in my opinion works best when you're the one hanging back, when you're the one on the defensive. You knew going into this fight.
You would need to be aggressive. You would need to be the one to take it to Shakur.
I also didn't like the way that Lopez used his lead, throwing single jabs instead of doubling up on the jab.
Isn't that what he did right there?
No, what he did right there was throw two singles in sequence instead of doubling up on the jab as he steps into it. Not even to land it, but to keep Shakur's guns holstered long enough that you can get close.
Throw combinations, throw body shots, which he mentioned, which he had some success with.
This isn't hard to figure out. Your strategy should have been predicated on fighting like a William Zepeda did against Shakur, but doing better than William Zepeda.
Where William fell short against Shakur is that while he was able to effectively apply pressure, after a few rounds the combinations got repetitive, predictable.
So to improve on that strategy, there would have needed to be a focus on what combinations you're throwing, how you're finishing them.
Shot selection.
But there's no question that William Zepeda did a better job of applying pressure on Shakur than Teofimo did, because Teofimo didn't know how.
Fighting at the wrong pace, using the wrong guard, too reactionary.
A little bit too upright for me. Should have been fighting at a slight crouch, bending at the waist and knees, the way that pressure fighters often do, so they can roll and counter, slip and counter, catch and counter. Overall, just fighting the wrong fight. Now, believe it or not, in spite of how limited he looked on Saturday night, this is not a big adjustment to make. We've seen other fighters make that adjustment when the situation calls for it, like Joseph Parker, who's not a textbook pressure fighter, not a pressure fighter by trade, but when the situation calls for it, he can become that, like he did in the Wilder fight. Canelo Alvarez.
Canelo didn't always used to march forward out of a high guard, countering in kind. As a junior middleweight, he was more of a boxer-puncher. When he got to the higher weights and had to close the distance more, he was more of a pressure fighter.
It's not for all the time. It's when the situation calls for it. This past Saturday, that situation called for it. Teofimo didn't know how to apply it.
It's all right. You can learn from your mistakes so long as you make the effort to learn from your mistakes. But if what you're going to do is go about things the same way with the same team doing the same thing, then the same thing's going to happen.
It's time to put your big boy pants on.